Welcome, everyone, to Beyond My Knowing. I'm Chris Hackala. In today's episode, we had three major events. One was a trip to the Pueblo Mountains, and then a trip to Sedona, and a trip to Mount Shasta. Let's get started, and everything starts in July 2023. It was a beautiful July day, and myself, Kendall, and David, we decided to go for a drive and a camping trip out to Eastern Oregon. We drove all the way to the Alvord Desert to camp for a night, and it was there that I captured some orbs on a picture. The next day, we would drive up into the Pueblo Mountains. It was here in the Pueblo Mountains where things got interesting. The drive up into the Pueblo Mountains is not for the faint of heart. Driving on the mountainside with a sheer drop off is a little scary. If you hit one rock wrong, it can kick the Jeep over and you could slide down the cliff, basically. The road is only wide enough for one vehicle at a time. There is nowhere to turn out, and you just pray that no one's coming up or going down when you're driving on the road. Once you get there and you get through the scary section, which is about a mile long, the springs in the mountain you'll see are still seeping out. And once you get past that scary part and some of the springs, it's all rocky and it's all flat, so to speak. Um, and then we couldn't get as far as we wanted to go because the springs had made the road so wet we would get stuck in the mud. So we parked the Jeep and we started to hike. We were already at over 7,000 feet in elevation. And I'm not sure what we topped out at. I know it was over 7,000 feet. So I started taking pictures as soon as we got there because everything was really pretty. The irises and the yarrow were in full bloom, and they were everywhere and really vibrant. There were groves of aspens scattered in the drainages, and it was there that we needed to hike through those. And there wasn't any trails. We were going cross country the whole time. When we got back about 6 miles into the valley, we decided to start hiking back to the Jeep. When we were hiking, we didn't see any UFOs or any ships or crafts or any sort. All of the ships showed up in the pictures once I got home and I put everything into the computer. There is one picture that looks like there is a ship coming through a wormhole or a portal because the ship and the portal are both tipped at the same angle. There are other pictures of the ships at different sides of the valley. In one picture, there is one where there's a ship above another ship. And then on the drive out of the Pueblo Mountains, I snapped a picture while we were driving, and there were orbs in this picture also in front of us. And it was daytime, but you could still see the orbs coming through. It was amazing to see these pictures and to know that what we experienced was very special, and it was possibly just for us. August 2023, the Daredevil on the swing set. In this vision, I was on a swing set, a very large swing set that had two swings. It was approximately 50 feet tall and used for training acrobats. There was someone on one swing and I was on the other swing, and we were swinging opposite so we would meet in the middle. As one would go high on one side, the other one would go high on the other side. As we were swinging, I reached a point where I was very high and I had slack in my swing, and then it jolted and came down. As I came down and past the other person on the swing, the momentum created sent me up and over to the top of the apparatus. As I'm flying higher up above the swing set, I can feel it started to contort and start to crash and fall apart. This training swing set was in the middle of a forest. Trees were surrounding everywhere, except where the swing set was, and that was in a large flat area. As the swing set was starting to crash, it started to lean to the right. I thought I could jump from the swing, but then I would land in all of the trees of the forest. So I stayed on the swing as the apparatus continued to fall to the side. My swing was starting to come down to earth as I reached the ground. I was able to jump off, going so fast and sliding on the ground until I came to a complete stop. At this point, Grandmother Mokhtan appeared. Her beautiful wrinkled face with high cheekbones and a smirking grin was highlighted by a flickering firelight on her facial features. After I saw her, I saw the three vertical lines of her light language symbol. Next vision, the black dragon. Last night I was shown a black dragon looking at me. He had an hourglass shaped mouth. His scales were outlined in black and then clear in the middle. And in the middle was dragon script in black. Each scale had a different dragon script on it. In the lower right side of my vision, a portal opened up. It was round with a white light glowing around it, and it had about 6 rows of dragon scales creating a frame around the portal. September 2023. In my vision, I saw Geronimo, the Apache shaman. We were sitting and looking face to face, and then my vision faded. The next night, I was awakened at 2 in the morning by 2 loon calls. September 2023, our trip to Sedona. The night before we left for Sedona, I saw a rainbow portal with a rainbow being with wings. They were very tall and they backed into the rainbow portal. I am a carrier of the authentic rainbow frequencies. We flew to Sedona because my beloved was attending the Sophia Code. That meant that I could hike and explore while she was in her classes. The first day, I drove over to the Buddhist stupa in town by Thunder Mountain. It is outside stupa. It's an outside stupa. And it's quiet and the frequency is high and it's a great place to meditate. After my meditation, I hiked towards Chimney Rock to get better pictures of the valley. The next day, I drove to Red Rock State Park for my second outing. As soon as I opened the car door in the parking lot, a beautiful green scarab beetle flew around me and then landed on my shirt. He was very pretty and shiny, and I welcomed him to my energy. He stayed on me for about 15 minutes as I began to hike. I think he was waiting for me to get there because he seemed excited when he was flying around me. It was starting to get warm outside. There were only a couple of other people in the park, and I was hiking to try and find someplace off the trail to look for, and I found a dried creek bed. And I hiked up as far as I could go in this creek bed. And then I stopped and turned around. And as I turned around, I heard in the bushes a few feet away from me a rock tap, and it tapped twice, deliberate 2 taps. There was no one else in my vicinity, and the sides of the dry creek bed went up fairly steep. I know that it was an elemental acknowledging my presence. I thanked this tiny being for allowing me to be there, and then I went on my way. My last day, I decided to hike to the birthing cave. It was a beautiful hike, and the cave was magnificent. It is said that the early indigenous, the Hopi, came here to sit and pray until they gave birth. The energy here was loving and soft. Now it's time to go home. My next vision, the Akash. A few nights ago, I had a vision, and I believed this was my sacred room in the Akashic records. As I walk through the large wooden door, there are small steps that curve to the left, following a wall. The lighting inside is dark, as the walls and ceiling are dark. As I get to the bottom of the steps, there is a large bath with high ceilings and a small rectangle pool in the middle. The floors are what appear to be brown terrazzo or stone. As I'm coming in, the floor is wet and I slip a little bit. When I get into the pool, I am looking at a cabinet that faces the pool. This cabinet is very large and it has large books in it. These books are probably 3 to 4 inches thick and about 18 inches tall, and they range in color from brown to white to ivory and a rainbow one. My thought was that these were possibly my Akashic Records books. This vision came to me when I had asked Chippewa and Grandmother Mokhtan for light language symbols to help me on my journey. And I believe that these light language symbols and light language are hidden in the pool and books in my sacred space. October 2023. In my vision last night, I was singing the Lakota lullaby song. When I was done, I was speaking with someone. I'm thinking it was my higher self or source, which is technically my higher self. They told me that my soul sister Nora could help me with that. I'm not sure exactly what they meant or what they were talking about, but I have a feeling they're trying to tell me that my singing was not all that great. um, November 2023, our trip to Mount Shasta. It was the beginning of November. I've been getting downloads the past few days of specific things that I have drawn on paper for this particular trip. These drawings would prove helpful in the days to come. One of the pictures is one of my books in the Akashic Records from my sacred room. Another one is a crystal pyramid with vertical crystals going around the top. There are 2 other pictures too detailed to describe. The weather was abnormally warm for this time of year. It was in the upper 60s. We drove up to the mountain for the first time to Bunny Flats. We went for a hike going towards the mountain, and then we went off trail through the trees and through all of the stones. My beloved was hearing the voices of the stone beings speaking to her. One of the stone beings asked her to climb on top of him and sit down in a certain spot. When she did this, she looked down on the left side of this large stone and found a beautiful, clear quartz crystal. The stone being chuckled. We had brought dried rose petals from our rose bushes and obsidian from Black Mountain to honor this grandmother. It was getting so late, and we headed back to the cabin. That night, when we were sleeping, my beloved woke up and looked to my side of the bed and saw a Lemurian looking down at me. She was tall and had shoulder-length blonde hair, and her floor-length gown was blue and silver. The next morning, we are going to do our ceremony. We started our meditation for the ceremony. As the energy started increasing, I was guided to go to the crystal pyramid that I had drawn before we left for Shasta. I went to the pyramid and moved inside. The inside was white with a rainbow column of light that went straight through the middle, from the floor through the top, in the middle of the pyramid. My beloved was being guided by Source. He had told her that the frequency of the rainbow light needed to be upgraded to true and authentic frequency for each color. The book that I drew in my Akashic records is the book that holds the light language with the authentic frequency for each of the colors. At this time, I retrieved my rainbow book from my sacred room and opened it inside the pyramid. When I did this, light language flew out of the book and was swirling around the inside of the pyramid. When this was done, I used my Lemurian quartz to replace individual color frequencies. When this was completed and the energy started to subside, the grandmother stone being that we had taken rose petals to had come in to our frequency and thanked us for our work. Okay, that's it for today and this episode. I want to thank everybody for being here and thank you for your energy. And please shine your light and raise your frequency. We'll see you in the next episode.